Jessica.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you today? Happy Mother's Day.
I'm good, thank you. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you for coming on the show. So, you have had so much wonderful success over the past year. And I literally didn't know that you've only been beading for such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And that just blows me away because I've seen so much beadwork over time, and there's people who can bead, and then just people who just have it naturally. It just comes flowing from them, and I think you are the kind of artist who reflects that. So tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, your background, and this past year for you.
Well, okay, my name is Jessica Desmoulin. I'm Ojibwe of the Pic River Nation. I'm also a member of the Bear Clan. My reserve is in Thunder Bay, Ontario, but I spent most of my life in Alberta, Canada, and partially in BC. When I was I've always been an artist, like with drawing and painting, but I never really got into it seriously until I was in my early 20s. And then in doing the art, I started connecting more to my natural heritage. Like I didn't identify myself as an Indigenous person until I was probably 25. And that's just how, like, I ended up growing up not really, that wasn't a focal part in my life. And then I started painting, and then painting put me into a gallery. And then once I started being in the more artistic community, I became interested in the beading and beadwork. And through like Facebook, like I did a bead loom a long time ago, and it was nothing that you wouldn't think that it would be important. And then you find out later on in your life that you're like, a lot of people do it for meditation. A lot of people do it to make themselves feel better. A lot of people do it out of, like, I personally do it just because I enjoy it, and I enjoy giving nice things to people and making people happy. So I started beading on a loom again, and then I just wanted to see it in cool different places. So I saw Adam Avery on Facebook, he does amazing hats. And then I found out, like, through beading, I ended up getting more connections to my own Indigenous roots. So I found out later on that Adam Avery, he was Ojibwe as well. And then so I ended up creating that connection. And then I also ended up speaking with my cousins more, who live on the reserve in Ontario, which I don't have a relationship with, but I do now because of beading and because of how beading is becoming more fashionable and being brought into the fashion spotlight more, if you know what I mean. And then I just kept on going with it and trying to figure out new ways that I thought people would enjoy it and would want to acquire stuff like that. And then by putting beading out there, you create more of a conversation and more of you do connect to different people. I find, like with the red dressing, I just wanted, when I put that out there, I just wanted to see what other people did and how they would create something like that. And then there was the brick stitch, and and then I learned about brick stitch, and then there was the peyote stitch, and then I learned about the peyote stitch, and then there was the bead loom and which apps are best for the bead loom, and it just exploded from there. And then you just keep going because you do want to learn more, right? Like I want to learn more of what I believe Lillian is doing with the earrings, and then there's so much to learn now. So you just keep going with it, right? And then these communities here, the beading communities and all that, they're so helpful, so unbelievably helpful. And then you meet great people and you hear about their stories too. So that's part of why I started beading, and then beading exploded for me. So
Let's back up a minute. Adam Avery. Now, who is Adam Avery? You mentioned him earlier.
he lives in the States, I believe. And he's Thunder Bay, Ontario, but he's in the lower part. He's an Ojibwe beader. Like I Googled beaded top hats, and one of his images came up, and that's what he does way over on the other side of the country to me. And then I messaged him out of sheer curiosity of how he puts his products together, and he answered me back, and he gave me quite a bit of advice. And yeah, if you look up Adam Avery, you'll come across what he does, and it's amazing. It's amazing stuff.
Okay, so well, interesting. So now you're mentioning top hats. Do you have a top hat you can show us?
No, they're in a gallery. Yeah, they're not. I have one top hat, but he's got nothing on him yet because it's there. Everything I have is in the gallery right now.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so and the gallery she is talking about is Bear Claw Gallery. Now, earlier today I was speaking to a longtime friend of mine, and I mentioned that we have a little show here about beads, and I was inviting an artist on who was an Ojibwe artist, and she had no idea about what Ojibwe was. So can you describe that a little bit more so that we can cross over to different people will understand the whole basis of why we're having these conversations here? Because I think a lot of people don't understand the great connection and meaning of your beadwork to you, as it may be a little different to people who are not traditional beaders. So you are a traditional beader, and your beadwork, you need to be part of a community to be representative in that way. And a lot of people don't know that. So can you explain that a bit?
Well, Ojibwe is just the people. We're considered woodland people, or woodland. I'm not sure how exactly to explain that I am Ojibwe.
Yeah, and I could be phrasing it wrong, but you get the gist of what I mean. She doesn't know about the culture or anything. So
yeah, I grew up away from all my culture. I didn't grow up on reserve. I grew up just like every other person. And when the reason why I started art and then I did get into the beadwork and everything is because I wanted to connect to who my heritage is. And then as you go, you learn. Like when I'm doing my paintings, a lot of it is very intuitive and inspirational. Just like when I'm doing my beading, like I just do what I like. I do, and I mix the colors the way I like them. I don't have a set meaning, but when I do get into something, like I made a little boy, he noticed, we went camping once, and he noticed that he could tell that I was Native, and he thought it was special. He found this goose feather in the bush, but he thought it was an eagle feather. But he knew it was special. Like he thought eagle feathers were really special. So he wanted to make sure I had this feather. And then the more I knew the little guy, his name is Milo, the more I knew him and you know, I wanted to make him something special. So that goose feather that he thought was an eagle feather, which is it is special in our culture. I beaded it for him. I beaded the stem of it for him. And then when in that process, I used a lot of red. So I looked up myself for my own information, colors, and how things can reflect how you feel and the like the gift you're giving. I used a lot of red, and then I guess red is very symbolic of being a warrior, and hence like the red dress and all of those, like it stems off into a lot of other categories, right? But in doing that with the beadwork for this young boy who thought I was special, so I wanted to make him feel special, I found that the color red that's the symbol of being a warrior and strength. So I don't know, the reason for the beadwork and artistry is to connect with your heritage or my heritage, and then I want to share it. And then if people like the way I put colors together or whatever, and they do want to know more about it, I can usually help with that, but mostly it's intuitive. I don't try to purposely put that out there, but if it starts a conversation, then there we go, right?
There we go.
Thank you. I did read on the Bear Claw Gallery that you mentioned in your work that your Ojibwe heritage comes through, the designs, the feel. So
Yeah.
that's the point I was trying to get across. It's instinctively within you. I mean, it's so natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any pieces of beadwork that you have in progress or loom work that you'd like to show us?
Sure. I'm working on this one right now. Let me get you in focus here. I was working on just the bead loom. It's a family of actually Indigenous or Native cowboys in Cold Lake, Alberta, and they asked if I could create a hat band for them, for their cowboy hats, for the whole family to wear together. And that's what I'm working on right now. So I found, I don't know if I can get this in there. I just worked on,
Oh, this is awesome. Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
the app.
So tell us
The app that I
everything
use for
about
that
what you
is
have in
called-
front of you.
So the app I use to create that is, what's it called again? It's got a little bird on the front of it. I can't think of it just right. I'll get to it. Stitch Sketch.
Stick sketch. Okay.
It's called Stitch Sketch. And that's what I got on the Apple iPhone, and you can get it on your Apple iPad. Anyways, that's the one I used. And first I did a test one because he wanted a certain size. So first I measured out the size that I needed. And then to be able to get the name nice, I'm using size 11O beads.
Are you using check or
Yeah.
check
I've-
11O check beads?
Yeah, I believe they're not perfect, but they're
So you do a lot of culling?
no, I just, whatever bead ends up on the needle ends up on the loom.
Gotcha.
I'm not too particular about that because it all works out in the end anyways. It's not supposed to be perfect. So, and yeah, I just figured out how big the name was going to be. And then I did the side panel, and then I still realized I needed a little bit more beadwork. So I did the bottom one. I measured everything. I weighed everything. This is the 6th hat band, and I also have, actually I'm doing 2 at once. So number 6 and number 7. And yeah, the family's been very patient because beadwork is such a long process. You don't realize how long it is until you want to get something to somebody. And yeah, I just weighed everything and made everything.
It's just beautiful. So the name is the name of
The family, yeah.
the family. That is beautiful. It'll last forever.
Yeah.
Can you zoom out a bit so we could see the loom a little bit in full view?
Oh, the whole loom?
Yeah, just, it's because I don't think, wow. It's
I
a
just
big
put
one.
well, it's just the large loom, and I just screwed it down to a old picture frame,
Yeah,
like a canvas. I took all the paper off the canvas, and then I got legs for it and just screwed them on. So I just made it so it sits upright and it's easier for me to use.
yeah, it's gorgeous. So about how long does it take for the one hat band?
I can do a hat band in about a week. That's just like, because I glue it on leather and I make laces for it, and
Oh, so it's a much longer process. It keeps on. Okay, so it keeps on going.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do quite a bit afterwards. Like the laces get metal feather ends. I hole punch them, and the hat band itself, I put eyelets on them so that it doesn't wear or tear. And yeah, I actually have a YouTube video of me doing that. If anyone's interested, you just look up my name and you'll find things that I've done on past projects. And
I'm going to attach one of the hat videos after this to the Facebook page there. Today it is Mother's Day, May 10, 2020. For those of you who continued to join the show, thank you, everybody. This is the Bead Foundation, and we are on live with Jessica Desmoulin. I hope I say your name correctly. And
Yep.
She is talking about her beadwork, her seed beadwork. Actually, I'm just kind of blown away again to let people know that when I first saw her work, I thought she was beading forever. And over this past year, I keep on seeing her great success with more hats and more hat bands. And then last week, I just recently discovered that she's only been beading for under 2 years. So welcome back, Jessica, to the show. And yeah, please tell us a little bit more about your process or another project that you have working on that you'd like to let us know about.
Sure, I will. Because it wasn't only just myself that was learning beadwork, it was my mother too. I got my mother involved. And here we'll do a quick house tour.
Awesome.
And I'll show
love
you what
artist studio view.
just my house.
Awesome.
And I'll show you what my mom is working on.
She has her own bead room.
Don't get it. She does.
Wow. She'll be on next week. We'll have to interview her.
I don't know if I can get her to come on camera. So what we're doing is we decided after a couple of the top hats from the gallery, we had people asking for hats. So I don't know if you can.
I can see. So what is the material it is on?
It's that easy felt.
Okay.
Easy felt.
So is it done directly onto the easy felt or some other piece before it gets to that felt?
No, we do it directly on the felt. Wow. And we've like this is this one. Ooh. And she's gonna make another one of these. So we do it directly on the felt. Just do an outline and then we kind of color it into how we like it. And yeah.
Oh.
Not very, they don't look so pretty on the front, on the back, but that's, yeah, that's what.
I love the color.
And my mom, when she was younger, her, like the reason why my mom does this kind of work is because she's really good at the embroidery and all that kind of stuff, like stitching and stuff. So this came easier for her than it did for me.
Now, can I ask, is
Yeah,
that
this
one
is
or
gonna
two
go-
needle?
One needle.
Okay, so she's doing the one needle process. Okay. Unbelievable. So now you're saying these are panels for the top hat so that then these are going to be sewn on to the top hat.
I glue them first and then we sew them on.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah,
Very cool.
that's one of the processes. And then I did a top hat for a lady in New Brunswick, I believe it was. And then hers was in all on Bead Loom. So yeah, if you showed the pictures of the hats, I could even look them up here quick.
Yeah, I would love to see a row on the next row on come on here. And if you have a special tip about that the thread you're using or something to be looking for if you're doing loom work when you're going left to right, the specific way over under when you get to the left side, and what happens if you find a bead that you need to go back and take out.
Sure. I have a couple of tools that I use to get my thread going or out if it's stuck. It's just a leather punch. It's the most handiest little guy because it's got a nice, not too sharp of a tip on it, but it's easier than trying to use your fingernail sometimes. And it's got a good handle that you can hang on to. And that's what I use to try and figure out and get my if I have any mistakes or anything. So yeah, here, I don't know if you can see this very well.
Oh, that's my favorite.
I
That
saw
hat
that
there-
on Facebook.
Yeah, that hat there went to a chef in New York, I believe. She took that one up. That's me and my mom did that together. I beaded the brim and made the small band, but my mom, I designed it and I picked the colors, but she did all the work for the whole part of the top part of that hat.
Oh, it's just amazing.
And then this is entirely loom. That whole piece there is loom. I think it's 73 beads, 11 O's or 10 O's.
10
And
O's.
then again,
And that was done on the loom that you have there.
you bet, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the smaller bowler hats. So that's like kind of the brim that I'm doing right now. Or that's the idea of it. And that's, yeah. So those are those.
Exciting, beautiful.
And if you look at my Facebook too, you'll see I do post quite a bit of pictures. So you can see pictures that I've done and the process I've done. And if you're curious of any of it, you can, whatever, if you were ever interested in the hat band.
Sure.
And I've done a couple of medallions too, but that's such a long process, and I like I'm more instant gratification. So that's why.
Yeah, going up the loom, you can see it.
Yeah, and like even with my paintings and such, I only use acrylic paints because I don't have the patience for anything else. So that's just an inherited thing, I guess. But the
last
needles
time
I'm
we
using.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Last time
The
we
needle-
spoke, that you said something about that you actually weighed the beads
Oh, I did.
for this project, which I thought was interesting because a lot of people don't know about weighing their beads for projects like this. In other projects, it's like, you're only going to need basic small amounts of this or that, but you mentioned you weighed it. So for, let's say, for instance, this project, how much is it, a kilo of the white that you ordered?
No, like, because what I did was I only started weighing them because I was curious to know how much I actually used, and I was
Gotcha.
gonna try and figure out how much it actually cost, because that's one of the harder things, I think, that when we're selling our work, to figure out the actual cost of your materials, and then you're actually, like, it might only cost you $2 for that whole entire string of beads, but you might only use like 5 cents of it, right?
Right.
So when I just wanted to try and see if there was a way to figure out, okay, when I do a hat band, it's going to take this weight of beads, depending on what color is depending on the price. And I just did it by chance because I was curious how much I actually did use out of a bag of beads.
Mhm.
And then it ended up working out in my favor because I only ordered so many beads. And then when this gentleman decided he wanted 2 more hat bands, I wasn't sure if I had enough. And because I had weighed it, and I keep like a project journal, I knew I had enough beads. Right?
Gotcha.
Because I also made sticks for, it's a kind of a gambling game, I guess, that I was invited to the reserve to find out what it is about, but we have no powwows happening this summer, so I will learn it. But
Okay. I did post the
same thing with that though. Yeah, you posted the pictures
yeah,
of the
sticks.
family sticks. Yeah.
Very, very cool.
And then those I decided, because I know that traditionally they do a peyote stitch because it's a lot easier to go around the stick. And I found with the peyote stitch, you get a jagged edging, right?
Using the seed beads. Now that's an interesting
Yeah.
point that you make. Yes,
So
because
you get that jagged edge.
yes.
So I decided to do brick stitch, and then I ended up with a full straight edge. But with brick stitch, I had to do a line to measure it first, and then again do a test one and figure out how long I needed it and everything, and how many beads it actually was. And then once I knew how many beads it actually was, I could design the pattern, which I did that too.
There's a gentleman on the Woodland Bead Workers who went over that specific subject that you're talking about, the jaggedness with using the beads. And he does a visual of it, but he also shows how it could go from the peyote stitch to the, what is it, the tube stick, brick stitch, right? Yeah. So it's interesting how that all, it's great to know all of the techniques so that when you are working on a piece, you could make it move like a piece of art to any direction you wish.
Yeah, and that's definitely I use that as well too with the sticks, because I was actually, it would have been too tight, and I had to go from the brick stitch to the peyote stitch to add an extra line in there so that it wouldn't be so tight and it would last longer. Because the more tension on your work, the easier it is for damage to happen later on down the road. I don't think it would last as long, right? Like you're putting stress on your project, right?
Correct. Correct. Okay, well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like us to know, Jessica, about yourself or
No,
what you're working on or upcoming projects? I know that you've been in the gallery. How has life after March changed for you, or hasn't changed for you
I've been really,
as an artist selling your work?
I've been really lucky that I have I have huge support at home, and a husband that's still working, and so my life hasn't been very disrupted, just in the way that I have my kids longer is the only reason. But other than that, I've been very fortunate, and things are still very much the same for me, which I've been very lucky. So I haven't had any struggles. I'm a very, very homebody person anyways. And yeah, no, it didn't affect me too much. And I know I'm very lucky that I've been lucky enough to have that. So
So today it is March 10.